Welcome everybody to 1 hour of miniature goodness. Let me just check the sound is working. Again, I'm having problems with my computer equipment. It's a pain in the butt, so I do worry about the sound. So, sounds good? Awesome stuff. It's the biggest problem we have with Twitch is sound issues. It's either out of sync or the internet's not fast enough or all sorts of stuff. It's like playing one of those, it's like playing Lord of the Rings online and you get that lag, you know, and you're running along and next minute you're halfway up the road because you've jumped through the lag from the game. Okay, let me quickly say hello to everybody in chat. I've already missed a few, but I think that's James at the top there. James Scorpler, Painted Gits in the house. Gareth the Star Wars man is in the house. The Bull GM is listening in the house. Thank you so much, the Bull GM. I do hope you get your computer fixed and your internet fixed. I mean, it happens to all of us, but you can hear me, which is awesome stuff. Awesome stuff. Stuart's in the house. Ty Varys, hello Ty Varys. Ty's in the house. Dry 75 is in the house, and we have and Michelle's in the house. And I will say his name because I don't see him. But I'll say it. Tal. We love you, Tal. Okay, so today we have the 2 Well of Dooms. Now, this Well of Doom is the large one. This is the new one. This is from the Bones 5 Kickstarter. It's very, very nice. And we've also got the metal version. But I'll show you this one first. It's a multi-part kit, of course. So we had to stick all the little tentacles on. And it comes on a little base there. Very, very nice. So what we're going to be showing you today is a little bit of wet blending. A little starter guide to wet blending your miniatures. This is the metal version. Now what I've done with the metal version is I've already stuck the metal version to a 75mm Base Boss base. Of course, Base Boss bases you can get through Reaper Miniatures, and the link is below the video. But just before we carry on, now they are going to be doing another Kickstarter soon. So you shall be able to buy lots and lots of different types of lovely bases for your miniatures, whether it be for your Lord of the Rings miniatures, your Games Workshop miniatures, your 40k miniatures, Reaper Miniatures, WizKids, Mantic Games, you name it. They'll do a base to suit all your needs. So there will be a Kickstarter soon for these bases, and I've been using Base Boss bases for years now. They are the bomb. They are my favorites. Okay, so this metal one today is actually for Renegade Shank. So I'll be posting this one to Renegade Shank. As for this one, I'm not sure what to do with it yet. It might go up for sale, but it might be given away to one of my patrons as well. Okay, so colours for today. Colours for today. We are actually going all for the pinks today. So we will be wet blending pink. We have Brains Pink, which we're going to use for the centre of this miniature here. Now we've also got this pink here. This pink was made by Reaper Miniatures a few years ago, and it was to support the Breast Cancer Awareness Month. So if you, it's definitely well worth supporting the awareness for breast cancer, as it is a very, very serious thing. But Reaper did these little pots to support that, and I just thought that was really nice of a company to actually support women and breast cancer. So yeah, got my pots. We've also got some dragon white, we got some dragon black, we got some alien flesh which we'll be using for the walls, and of course we got the mossy green to add that little finishing touch of the mossy green around the stonework. Okay, so what we're going to start with first is we'll start with the bones miniature here. I'm going to paint it outside of here to make it a little bit easier, and I'm just going to get some paint on the palette first, eh? Now, Reaper Miniatures are streaming at the moment, but what it is, every Monday I keep forgetting to actually raid their channel, because I think it's Rodner Bender who paints on a Monday for Reaper Miniatures. Whether or not their stream will still be going when I finish is a different matter, but if they are, what we'll do is we'll give them a little raid at the end of the show, because they have given me lots of raids in the past, so I need to give back in kind. So if you see Reaper streaming when I go to finish the show today, just give me a little heads up. Just give me a little heads up, and we'll all jump over and say hello before I take Bonnie for a little walkies. Now let's talk about wet blending. Wet blending is a super fantastic way to paint your miniatures. It can be very difficult and daunting for many of you to actually start wet blending your miniatures, but once you get a technique going, it works out quite easy, and it really works well for your miniatures. You can paint a miniature very, very fast with wet blending, and with the wet blending it means you don't really need to add ink washes and other items, because you're actually doing all the shading in one foul swoop. Okay, what we're going to do first is we're going to paint the underside, so we're going for the darkest colour this time. I'm just going for that, I'm going to call it dark pink. I don't want to say breast cancer pink all the way through the show, so what we'll call it is dark pink. And what we're doing is we're just doing the tentacle side first. No wet blending on this part of the miniature. All the wet blending is going to be on the tops here. Does the picture look too dark for everybody? Is it okay? Now with this... Good. Okay. Awesome stuff. Now, if you are in the living in the USA, I think Gareth, the Star Wars man, he will be streaming at 9 o'clock USA time. If you live in the UK, that will be 3 a.m. in the morning. 3 a.m. in the morning, oh my god. But Gareth does a fantastic stream, and he paints all my Star Wars miniatures, so I would definitely check him out if you can watch his little show. I can't make all his shows, of course, because 3 a.m. in the morning, the Goblin King quite often is fast asleep. Oh, there you are, tonight at 9:30 US Central. These time zones are absolutely awful. Why can't the world just be all the same time? It's very difficult for me with my business, because 90% of my fan base are from the USA. And of course I can't do streams in the middle of the night, and I know at this hour most of you are still in work in the USA, so it is very, very difficult, but I do thank you so much for popping in. Now I do have a lot of fans from Europe as well. Now Europe isn't so bad. Europe is actually 1 hour ahead of me. So in Europe it will be 9 o'clock now instead of 8 o'clock. That's the only good thing. You do actually start to learn your times. And that's about it, really. I'm just using an old Army Painter Regiment brush, and the bristles on this brush are actually starting to get smaller and smaller now. It won't be long before I'm painting with just a stump. Now, because of course, this is the underside of the tentacles, this is why we're using the darker pink. And what we're going to do with this darker pink is, once this is dry, we'll add this Vallejo red ink wash, because that'll pick out all those little suckers, as I call them, the little suckers on the feet there. So it won't take us long to get this done. It's a nice little miniature. But today is we'll do some nice little wet blending. With wet blending, you start off with a darker colour, and then you just start adding lighter colours to that darker colour. And of course, the key to wet blending is in the name. You actually keep the paint wet all the way through the process of painting with wet blending. The paint that does all the work for you. All you're doing is adding lighter tones of the same colour, and the wet blend will actually do everything for you. It's a lovely thing. If you get the effect correct, it really does look absolutely amazing. It makes you look very, very professional. There we are, one more little tentacle here underneath. Now, this actual miniature that I'm painting now, like I say, it's from the Bones 5 Kickstarter. It's not for sale at the moment on the Reaper web store. I don't know when this one will go live onto the web store. Quite a few miniatures from Reaper don't actually ever make the web store. There's still lots and lots of miniatures from the actual Bones 4 Kickstarter that also never made it to the actual retail. So it's sometimes you'll find you won't be able to get all the miniatures that you see me painting, but this is also why back in the Reaper Kickstarters is also very, very much worth doing, because you're going to have exclusive miniatures that you might never be able to get hold of through the retail shops. Okay, so there we are. That's all the little pink bits on. So what we'll do is we'll move on to the metal one now. We're doing the metal in the same version, the same paint colour scheme. Hello, Renegade Shank. I'm just starting your one now. This one is your one. This is the metal one for Renegade Shank. Like I say, I've added this onto a 75mm base. And what we're going to do is exactly the same. We're just going to add that pink, that darker pink, to the underside of the tentacles. Now, with the metal, I did give all the metal a primer coat first of the Brush On Primer by MSP. the white brush-on primer, and then I went over the metal with Dragon White as well. So it's actually got two coats. You've got your primer coat, and you've actually got a Dragon White as well. Now, using that red ink wash which I showed you a minute ago, that will bring out all the details, all these little details of the suckers on the bottom of the tentacles here. It's quite awkward to get my brush in there though. There we go. Let's go to that. I had a lovely surprise today from Thule. And Thule is also a professional painter, and she's got her own Twitch channel as well. And she painted me 4 Star Wars Legion miniatures, and she posted them off to me, and they came today. Absolutely beautiful stuff. Wonderful miniatures. But she also included my favourite waffles. But the trouble now is, I can't eat the waffles. So Scorpla, my partner, she's doing a little jig and dancing around the living room, munching on my waffles and my chocolate, because I can't eat them because, of course, of my IBS. I can't eat anything with the flour at all now anymore. But of course she's happy. Of course she's happy. She's there munching my waffles, and she gets a whole pack to herself now, and that's just not fair. Whole pack of waffles. Anyway, the point is, thank you to Thule. She's a very busy lady, so she doesn't kind of come onto the channel. She's got her own Twitch show to sort out. But if she does watch this, thank you so much, Thule. The miniatures and the waffles. I mean, I can sniff the waffles. They smell great. Mikey sniffing waffles. Okay, that's that one on done. Oh, the Dutch they're Dutch waffles. And honestly, they what they are, they're toffee waffles. Okay, so what you do with these toffee waffles, though, like, you get a nice round waffle, it's about twice the size, a bit bigger than that. That's the size of the waffle. So what you do is you have a cup of coffee. You have a nice cup of coffee or hot chocolate, and what you do, you put the waffle on top of the rim of the coffee. So what happens then is the heat from the actual coffee, it melts all the toffee inside the waffle, and then you've got this delicious waffle, which I can't eat. Damn it. I can almost hear her munching. I can hear her crunching. I can hear her. She's like, she's like a bloody squirrel in the background. Okay, let's start some wet blending. Oh, actually, I missed a bit. We need to paint this middle bit first as well. So now, for the middle here, I'm assuming this is like a mossy mound, but I think it looks like a brain. So, what do you guys think? That to me is a brain. Is that supposed to be a brain? If it's a brain. Thank you, Gareth. It is a brain. I thought it was. It's a brain. And we got brains pink. So there we go. So I've actually got a bit on my banner. I'm losing it today. I'm actually losing it a little bit today. Hello, Crafty Tibbles. What we need to do is just add all this here, just go into all the details here. Like I said, it's a very, very simple paint scheme and a very, very simple miniature to really paint today. But it looks really effective once it's done, and of course by adding the wet blend in on the tops, it will really come alive. But for the brains, now Reaper do brains in a jar, and they do all sorts of different miniatures with brains. What I find is by using using this brain pink, if you use the brain pink and then you put this red ink wash over the brains pink, that gives that nasty little like blood vessel look. It really makes it look gory and nasty, just like how we want it to look. It's going to look fab when we add that. It is a little bit awkward because all these little tentacles are kind of in the way everywhere, so we're just trying to move around. I'm just kind of dabbing the paint into the recesses. This is where it's handy where you're using an old brush. You're not going to damage your new brushes by doing this. So keeping some of the old brushes is always worth doing. There we go. Is that a mind flayer well now? It could well be a mind flayer well, yes. I still prefer my metal miniatures though. I do. This is a lovely miniature, but I still got huge love for the metal miniatures. I don't think you'll ever take that away from me, no matter how many plastic miniatures and how nice the sculpts are. There's just something about metal. It just really is nice. But what I am noticing, and I did have a little bit of a rant about this on my Discord, and that is the size of miniatures now. They are getting bigger and bigger and bigger, which of course is very nice to put into your display cabinet or whatever. But my question to everybody in chat is, with the size of these larger miniatures, from a gamer's point of view, are you really going to be using a huge dragon or monster? And I'm saying this because I'm going to talk about the WizKids miniatures. WizKids just released their Tiamat, and it's supposed to be the size of a small dog. I don't have room on my tabletop for that size type of miniature, and the price you're paying for that miniature in particular is a lot of money. Now, are you guys going to actually use that size miniature in your games? Maybe a few of you will, but most of you will be sticking to a nice size miniature. And I'll give you an example of this one here. The Well of Doom. This is a big miniature. I only have a small table in my living room. This is why I like the smaller size miniatures. I mean, here we are. I'll give you some scale. No, this is actually very nice with the 4 scale just here. That's actually that's an acceptable size from what I'd say. And this one too. That's a nice size scale for your metal miniature. But when you're talking about the dragons and Tiamats and they're getting bigger and bigger and bigger, it's a hard thing to decide. Do I need that in my collection? Apart from, will I ever use that miniature in my collection? Yes, we all have the Maldraka, and the Maldraka is the Reaper's edition of the Tiamat. But I haven't seen the size of the WizKids version. But one of you guys told me in Discord that it was like twice the size of Tiamat. which is like, wow, it's way too big. I mean, also the question is, if you're playing Dungeons and Dragons and you're coming up to a ancient dragon, if you're playing, it doesn't matter if you're like, you'd all have to be level 20. You'd all have to be level 20 in Dungeons and Dragons. I don't know. Maybe Tal is in chat. Tal maybe knows the stats of like Tiamat, but if you are in a party of 4 or 5, and most Dungeons and Dragons games, you're averaging maybe 4 or 5 players. Is that party big enough to take out a dragon the size of Tiamat? So, give me the answers in. Give me your answers in chat. So I feel good about buying big dragons. There you are. Bull GM there. He's thinking just like I do. It's a difficult one. You're either a collector of all the miniatures and the large dragons, or you're a gamer and you're thinking with a gamer's head, thinking that's not even going to fit on my table, let alone. Rod, I'll stick with crabs. Okay, let's get some wet blending going. Okay, for all the newbies who have never done wet blending, let me move this palette in a bit further so we'll see. And we'll actually start on the little metal one, and I'm still using the Manky brush. Now what we do with the wet blending is we start off with our darkest colour, which is that main pink here. But what we're going to do, as we move up the tentacle, we're keeping the paint wet, and I'm going to start adding white into the mix and just pushing and pulling the paint to the edges. So what will happen is we'll have the dark pink at the bottom, and then we'll start pulling the paint across the tentacle, and as we get to the end it should get lighter and lighter. So in theory what we do here is we just add the paint, and we'll do one at a time. We're just adding the paint around the bottom of the tentacle. I'm not worried about making a mess because we'll be painting over that later. Now keeping the paint is nice and wet still, we're going to add a little bit of white, and I'm going to just put that into the palette there. Just make sure you don't overload your brush. And then we start pulling the paint out, and it will get lighter and lighter as we go further up the tentacle. And again, adding a little bit more white to the same piece of pink there, a little bit more, and it's getting lighter and lighter going up the tentacle. Again, a little bit more white going into the same areas, the same pink, and again just going across. We're pulling the paint up the tentacle, back into the white. So all we're doing is adding a little bit more white to that pink every time we go back onto the miniature, and again it's getting lighter and lighter. But what you're looking for is a smooth transition from dark pink to light. Again, back into the white, and again it's getting lighter and lighter. We're almost getting straight into white now, and the last one we're just going to go hit the white, a little bit of pink, and we're going to pull this right to the edge. There we are, beautiful. Now as you can see, that's one tentacle, absolutely beautiful. So you've got the dark pink to start with, and then we've gone lighter and lighter and lighter and lighter and lighter all the way to the tip of the tentacle. We've got a lovely transition from pink to a very, very light pink, and that's as simple as that. That's all we do. So what I'm going to do, I'll carry on. Just make sure you keep washing your brushes. It's very easy to overload your brushes when you do wet blending. Yes, this one, this is perfect. This is, I've been wanting this miniature for a while, and of course this one is now for Shank, but I have got one for myself as well because I wanted one. So again, we're going to start with the tentacles. Again, the darkest pink at the bottom, go all the way around the bottom of the miniature. Again, back into the white, mixing it in. And then we just slowly start pulling that pink up the tentacle, going back into the white, adding that to that area that we just added, pulling the paint across. And because the paint is still white, wet, this is the most important part of this process, is because the paint is wet, it's letting you pull the paint across and down the miniature, and this is where you're getting that lovely effect with the blending. So the key to this is to remember, you start off with the dark, and by the time you get to the end of the tentacle, you should be on the lightest pink, like so. So we've got a lovely effect there, and because we've done it with a wet blending effect, we don't need to add any ink wash at all to this area to get an effect. We can just actually keep that like it is, and it'll look really, really nice. Okay, so we'll carry on, finish off the pinks on this one. Again, remember not to overload your brush, and just get that dark pink at the bottom. And again, just adding a little bit of white and pulling that across. And keep going in one direction. Now, if you notice, what I'm doing with my brush is I'm only going one way with my brush. I'm not going back down. I keep on going up, going across like this. I'm not going back, just pulling the paint towards the end or the tip of the tentacle. Now, I'm doing this very slowly for you all so you can actually see what I'm doing. But once you get into like a high speed mode, you'll get all your little tentacles and blending done in seconds. It doesn't take long at all. And to be honest, the faster you are with wet blending, the better. Because, of course, you don't want that paint to actually dry. Okay, carrying on. I'm trying to read chat as well, so I'm not missing any questions. You'll have to excuse me if I look like I'm doodling. Okay, again, last one. Darkest pink first. And we go straight into that white. And we start pulling the white through the pink. And add in the white. And there we are. That's how simple it is to do your wet blending for your tentacles on your beastie. Awesome stuff. I mean, I think that looks absolutely fantastic. Very, very simple to do. Now, what we do, once all these little tentacles have dried, we will, of course, be adding a nice satin varnish. Thank you. How the Bull GM? Bull GM is like looks great, and yet he's just not listen. He can't watch. Well, I take it you got your picture back then, Bull GM. It looks great. I can see great from my ears. Now this is the satin varnish I use. Now you got a choice. You can either use satin varnish, you can use gloss varnish. Gloss varnish would work very well as well, but I find gloss varnish can actually make it look over wet. I don't know if that makes sense to you, but with the satin varnish, it's not so in your face with the gloss. What'll happen is it'll make the tentacles look moist. It'll make the tentacles look moist, but not too wet. Now what you can do is for the main base where the water is, you got the water at the bottom there, that part here, that can be painted with a gloss varnish, so that's an extra glossy, and then the tentacles will be painted with a satin varnish, so that actually gives an effect of ultra wet, and then kind of the tentacles coming out of the water, they're not so wet. He said it, drink. Are you playing a drinking game? Okay, let's get this one sorted. What we'll do is we'll do the tentacles on this one, and then we shall do the I'll show you the wash. I'm just waiting for this to dry. As you can see, it's still wet, but as soon as that's dry, we can add that Vallejo red wash, and that does give a really nice effect, so I'm looking forward to showing you that in a minute. But let's take this out of here and get on with these little tentacles as well. Now it's quite difficult to get in between those parts here, but we'll have a go. And we just want to get that pink in, the dark purple in. Purple, dark pink. I've had people getting in touch with me saying, do I drink wine? They don't believe I'm drinking Ribena. they say, that's not Ribena, you drink wine. Believe me, it's Ribena. It's Ribena. You don't want to see me drunk. I was drunk on the Christmas special, and that won't be forgotten for a while. So again, all I'm doing is adding white to the pink. I'm just making it lighter and lighter as we go further down the tentacle. Now these are a lot larger, so what I'm doing is I'm pulling the paint even further down, so the transition into a lighter effect isn't so short. If you have too much of a gradient all at one time, it looks a bit odd, so we try to stretch it out on these larger miniatures. As you can see, it works much better. And last one, a little bit more white there. And just the final highlight, white, done. Yeah, see? And that's how simple it is when you do it fast. You've got the dark going into the lighter and lighter, and then the tip is almost super light pink. So we're starting to the next one. Again, we add the darkest pink around the bottom of the tentacle. And again, just going straight back into that white. Back into the white. I would say it's actually easier to paint wet blending when you're going faster, like so. And just easy peasy all the way down, and again another tentacle done. I got a lovely transition from dark to light. Now, if you want to type in, if you are a patron on a tier, or if you are on one of my tiers on Ko-fi, if you type in chat, give me a free mini, Claire will add you to the Wheel of Pain, and if you win, it will be added to your next box. Now, the next box for posting is March, by the way. A few of you have got in touch with me. They thought it was in February. It's actually March when I actually post out the parcels. Hello, HNH Minis. I'll just quickly speed paint the last few of these tentacles while you're doing the little draw there. Last one. And there we are. All the tentacles are done. Absolutely beautiful. They look absolutely fab. Got all those beautiful colours going there. And all we've used is one colour and dragon white. And just by those wet blending, we've got a multitude of beautiful effects going across all the tentacles. All absolutely fabulous. Really looks nice when you get all those wet blending done. And like I say, it doesn't take long. It does take a little bit of practice. You got to have a bit of confidence with the brush when you're using wet blending, but just remember, always start with a dark color, moving on to the lighter color. So you got your dark colors and you just slowly add in a little bit more white, a little bit more white, little bit more white, until you get to the desired effect that you want. Now you can do it. Thank you for the cheers. Remember, you can do this with any color. It doesn't matter, reds, blues. You can even do it with black. You can do it with any color you want, and you just transition down to a lighter color, and you do get an absolutely beautiful effect for your miniatures. Wet blending can be used for stuff like your the clothes on your miniatures, capes, very good for doing capes. Also, it can be used for anything, but it does take a little bit of time to get used to using wet blending. But once you feel more confident with your miniatures and your painting, you won't look back, because just having this effect, how quickly it is to make this effect, it really is a real nice thing to do, and you'll feel so good once you've done that effect yourself. Okay, what I'm going to do now, I'm going to start painting in the stonework while we're waiting for that paint to dry there. So I'll quickly show you the stonework. it's not quarter to. It's not. Is it? Is it 8:45 already? Oh my god. Oh my god. That was a very very fast hour. What's going on? Well, I hope you've all been enjoying the show. Hi, Ty. Hello, Ty. Thank you, Tal. Thank you, Tal. I'm really. It does make a huge difference doing these little wet blendings. And of course, what we'll do before I finish the show tonight, I want to show you the Valleco Red ink wash, because what will happen, this will transform and pick out all the little tentacles there, all the suckers, and if you add it to the brains, it really gives a beautiful effect. Highly recommended. Valleco ink washes are absolutely amazing ink washes. This actually, I need a bigger brush for this one. Okay, so we'll just quickly paint the greys onto the space, just so. Where's my little brush? Where are you? Where are you? Come to daddy. There you go. There you go. Whoops. I'm just collapsing. I'm just knocking my miniatures over. 1 second. There you go. We're safe. Okay, so very, very fast. Little flick across here. All I've done with this miniature here, I've just painted this in thank you for the cheers. I've just painted this in Dragon Black. With the Bones miniatures, you can of course paint directly onto your Bones miniatures, but I do highly recommend to actually give all the miniatures a primer. It doesn't matter if the miniature is metal or plastic. It's so much easier to work from a colour on your miniature. It gives you something to work from, and of course with Bones miniatures and plastic miniatures, you have always got that risk of pooling of paint. Pooling of paint happens of course from the residue that's left on your miniature from the moulding process. So it's also really important to wash all your miniatures in warm soapy water. Now, I am a huge culprit for not doing that. I'm not going to lie to anybody on stream, and I never will. Half the time I don't wash my plastic Bones miniatures, and another time I will wash my Bones plastic miniatures. So I'm as bad as the other person. We're all quite naughty, really. You are supposed to wash all your miniatures, but of course it's down to laziness. It's me like, oh, I just want to paint my miniatures. But I think most of you, if you're honest with me, most of you probably don't wash all your miniatures as well. It's something we're supposed to do. It's something we're supposed to do, but it's also something that we don't really do because we're just naughty. We're naughty. But I do wash miniatures, but not as much as I should do. And resin as well is very, very important. If you're doing any resin miniatures, warm soapy water first to actually get that miniature all nice and painted up. Now with this grey, I'm talking away here, with this grey, what I'm doing, I'm actually adding a little bit of white on my tissue here into the grey. This will just be to highlight the edges of the actual rock here. So super fast and easy. Let's go around the rock, boom, boom, boom. And I'll do exactly the same to the metal version, but I won't do that today because we're actually running out of time. So I want to get this done, and I'll show you that. Ink wash. So we also do the inside. Now, what I was thinking is, thank you, Rikers Iron, for the raid. That's very kind of you, and welcome to the show. I'm going to be finishing in about 5 minutes. My show is only an hour long, I'm afraid. But what we're painting today is my Well of Dooms, and I was just showing everybody how to do their wet blending. So far today we've got these two. This is the Reaper Bones 5 version, and we've done some wet blending, just going across all the tentacles, and we've got the metal version, and again I've done wet blending along the tentacles of the miniature. What I was going to say though was this this Bones 5 miniature comes in this little well here. What I would suggest, if you are going to be using this for gaming, and I'm going to actually do it to this one, is don't glue the actual tentacle beast to the well. Leave it so it just goes inside the well. It actually fits in nice and snug. But what I would recommend is paint the bottom green and add some, make it look like water, and then you can have the actual well in your dungeons. And then if the game master or dungeon master wants this to be the Well of Doom, your party can go up to the well, and then of course the dungeon master can boom. That is a Tal thing. that's what Tal would do. So you can actually add. Oh, you're painting Bones minis for Frostgrave. I love Frostgrave. Frostgrave is a fantastic game, absolutely fantastic game. I've got a lot of the actual Frostgrave miniatures. Very nice. Yes. Anyway, so you can paint water in there. And of course you could have it then so you're getting attacked, you know, by your Well of Doom. I haven't surprised players like that in ages. Oh, look at him. I'm a good DM. I'm not nasty. I'm not a party killer. Yes, you. Okay, let's get this. Let's add a bit of the red before. Let's add a bit of the red before I say goodnight. This is the Vleco red ink wash, and as I always say to you, even though the ink washes sound very liquidy and runny, they are absolutely the same as ordinary paints. They've got the pigments will separate, and what will happen is you'll end up with very bad ink wash. So always mix all your paints, no matter if they even sound like they're all runny in the jar, because the pigments still settle to the bottom of your pots no matter what you do. No matter what you do. Okay, right, I need a little brush now. I'm going to add this little monkey brush. I keep hitting my miniature that's just here. It's going to go flying on the floor in a minute. Right, okay. Right, so this is the last little bit here. What I wanted to just show you is the red on this middle part of the brain. This is the Vleco red ink wash. I'm just going to start adding that in. What will happen is it will go into all the recesses, and then the lighter pink will come through. But what it does, it gives an absolutely beautiful brains effect, and it looks like it's all bloody then. Oh, nasty. Just let the ink wash sink into the brains. Brains. Yeah, look at that. That's absolutely gorgeous. It looks like you're going to make bolognese. Not a spaghetti bolognese. Oh my god. Anyway, this is what happens when you add a nice red ink wash. It works absolutely fantastic for this actual effect for brains. And of course you can use this effect for zombies. You can use this effect for the brain in a jar. All anything that's got a brain that's hanging out, half out. But this is it. So if you want to have the perfect looking brains, you want the brains pink. The brains pink from MSP Paints. It's the perfect pink for your brains. And I highly recommend the red ink wash. The red ink wash from Vallejo. And you'll get that absolutely beautiful. It actually looks like you're going to cook off some mincemeat there, doesn't it? It looks like a little. It looks like a ball of mincemeat, and I want to make it into a burger. Make it into a burger. Okay, so we are going to leave it there tonight. We are going to leave it just there, and what I'm going to do is we are going to raid Reaper Miniatures before they close down. I don't know what time Reaper Miniatures closes, but I can still see they're still streaming there. So I shall say goodnight to everybody. Thank you all so much for popping on the show. I love every single one of you, the support, and thank you so much for the raid as well. That's awesome. I hope I can do the same in return to you Monday. Okay, let's raid Reaper Miniatures. Right then. Raid Reaper Miniatures. Is it working? No. Oh, what am I doing wrong now? Oh my god. Is it Reaper Miniatures one word? It isn't it? Damn it. Raid Reaper Miniatures. Woohoo! Take care, everybody. Love you all.